Good morning, everybody. So by now you've all heard that Ghiswell was tricked into admitting that she had tapes on the T-Man and the Clintons. Here's the story here. We're going to unpack this and try to read between the lines as to what is going on here. Now, sadly, some channels have kept going on with the narrative that they've bought into and that they've invested their channel into, and immediately trying to discredit this story and say, oh, now we're going to believe her. Well, that's not how this went down. And that's why we need to look at this closely and figure out exactly what happened. Now, the channels that are sticking to the story and trying to discredit what was said here and what was revealed, of course, this is happening in defense of the T-Man, of the Don himself, right? Because there are still people that don't understand the psyop that we just went through. They don't understand the honey trap, the biggest honey trap in world history, to draw out anybody opposed to the new agenda, the left-leaning agenda, and where they're taking us in the future. And they wanted to draw out as many people as they could who would become a threat that they could then prosecute, harass, fire from their jobs, evict them from their apartments, fire them from any shows that they were on. You guys heard the story about the lady from The Mandalorian, the actress who got fired. These are all examples that they're setting so that no one will ever think twice again about threatening the agenda that is they want to push forward. And that agenda includes lots of things. But if you don't know about the agenda, just look at what they've already told us where they want to take things. They want everybody to believe in the earth warming up, even though we've got ice and snowstorms across the United States and record cold temperatures. They want us all in electric cars. There's all these things that they want. And make no mistake, both sides were part of this trap that was set. Hundreds of people have been arrested already who stormed the Capitol, and there will be many more. So let's look at the logic of them trying to discredit this new revelation. Now, this was an old interview from 2016 that this particular person who wrote a book about this reporter, this was based on an interview that he had with her back in 2016. And basically, he asked her a series of questions. Let's read this article here. He basically tricked her into admitting that she had tapes. He basically assumed that she had the tapes. It would be like a parent saying, how many cookies did you eat from the cookie jar? And the child, believing that the parent already knew that they ate the cookies, would just say, I only had one. Whereas if you were to ask the question, did you eat any cookies out of the cookie jar? Then the child would have been like, oh, no, I didn't. You see how this works? It's simple logic. So he tricked her. It says here, GM admitted that JE had a secret recordings of DT and BC. And a CBS News producer has claimed in a new book. The British socialite who is awaiting trial, charges of blah, 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 is confirming that they had taped his famous friends. Reports that Eggstein had planted secret recording devices in his homes. It is rumored had potentially incriminating tapes of his many powerful associates. Now, we already knew that he was doing this, and that they were both doing this, recording people. This was their whole business. This is what they did. They blackmailed people. So it's not a stretch of the imagination to believe that they had tapes on everybody that they came into contact with to some degree. Now, how incriminating the evidence was, we'll never know. But imagine that they probably do have dirt on a lot of people. And what do you do with this dirt? Well, it allows you to control people, right? And we know that Mr. T was in bed with a certain country and basically doing whatever they wanted with their peace plan, and was known as the president who had backed this country much more than any other president before him. So we have to at least rule out the possibility, or consider the possibility, that the reason why he has this allegiance is because maybe they have dirt on him through this operation. Right? And we've looked at this theory before that, look, how can you have a president that you knew was in close contact with a blackmail operation and not flush that out before allowing that person to become president? I mean, that's just politics 101. It basically disqualifies a person from becoming president if there's any suspicion of that this person could be under blackmail, because that would mean that our national security would be at risk, and that it would be the person with the blackmail evidence running the country and not the president. So I want to spell all this out for some people, because it's hard for them to wrap their brain around this. But the proximity of Mr. T alone to this couple should cause alarm. And any other politician in proximity to this couple should have been fully investigated by the highest offices of our justice system to make sure there was no blackmail occurring. Okay? Because we already knew that this is what they were doing. So the question becomes, if they wanted to hurt the T-Man and his chances to get elected, wouldn't they have broken this before the 2016 election? Or how about before the 2020 election? They would have broken it before that. They would have broken this story to try to hurt him, right? So the logic fails that we assume just hands down that Ghiswell is lying. You can't just assume that, because if she was lying, then she would have busted this out during the 2016 election or the 2020 election, neither of which happened. This is after the fact information. So she basically admits that they had stuff on him. And so I believe that this story is real. Now, this gives us a snapshot into the possible motivation to have them both arrested, and then the supposed death of Eggstein. Now we began to see a motive for how that might have happened and went down. It almost feels like a cover-up, which is what I've been saying from the beginning. A cover-up of epic proportions. The T-Man and the Clintons working together to hide and bury any evidence that Ghiswell had against them, as well as Eggstein. And it worked. Because literally the only other person even close to getting in trouble for being attached to this couple is this guy, Jean-Luc Brunel. And I looked back at the news stories, and it's been crickets for about 3 weeks surrounding Jean-Luc Brunel's name. We don't know what's going on with him at this point. All we knew was that they held him at like an airport as he was trying to leave. But we really don't know too much more about that at this point. Hold on just a second, you guys. Now, this is what concerns me, because out of all these people that were in these black books, why aren't any of them being arrested or being talked to? There were hundreds, maybe even close to 1,000 names in this black book. And have any of them been arrested under the T-Man presidency? No, they haven't. Are any of them being arrested under the Biden presidency? No, they haven't. So you got to also ask yourself, with such a high profile arrest of Ghiswell and everything that she knew, wouldn't she be singing like a bird? Wouldn't she be like trying to negotiate her release, threatening Hollywood and DC and all these other places to reduce her sentence? My guess is that she's trying. My guess is that with all of the tapes and recordings that they've had, she must have had a dead man's trigger somewhere where that would kick off if she ever got brought in. But of course, all that's probably been shut down by an orchestrated cover-up. or she's been gagged or whatever. So here's the thing. You don't accumulate that much dirt on people and then not use it when you're pinned against a wall. Unless, that is, you've been threatened or silenced, or the machine that's in place to cover these kinds of things up has been employed. And my guess is what they probably did is they waited to move on this couple until they knew that they had the evidence secured, or a way to stop the evidence from being released. You know, they have these media corporations in their back pocket too. So even if the information was released, unless you have an outlet to go with it with and release it, it's going to remain hidden. So I believe what we witnessed in plain sight was the hugest cover-up in political history. A couple that had film and pictures incriminating hundreds of people in politics, sports, Hollywood. And despite that, there have been no mass arrests of all the people surrounding this couple. And anybody with any critical thinking cannot deny that these mass arrests never happened surrounding this ring. You would have to totally have your head in the sand to believe that there was just no evidence to arrest anybody surrounding this ring. That these were the only 3 people that were involved in this. Brunel, Eggstein, and Ghiswell. That this whole situation was contained and isolated to 3 people. That just doesn't make any sense at all. There were many dozens and maybe hundreds of people involved in this, and none of them were arrested. So that, to me, is a cover-up. And that's the truth, you guys. Now, I'm going to go back in the chat here, because we've got more stuff to look at. I've got some miscellaneous items that I want to share with you guys today. Welcome to the show, everybody. And, you know, you might have a different opinion about all this, but at the end of the day, only 3 people arrested out of a black book of thousands of people? I don't think so. This was a cover-up, you guys. Now, on to other things and other subjects this morning. I wanted to thank you guys for watching the hummingbird video last night and the pool enclosure video. That was kind of a last minute thing I put up. And some of you are like, I thought you were black, you know, because you could see my arms in the video. And you guys, come on. This is 2021. Do you not understand that there are many shades of black people? My father is very black. My mom is black, but she's mixed with Jamaican, Irish, and Cherokee. Okay? There are many shades of black people. There are some black people with such light skin that it's lighter than white people. You can't go on skin color, and I thought we were kind of past that. There's video of me on this channel back when I was in France a couple of years ago. I was hanging out with Mark. I'm a black man, okay? And that's the hypocrisy of it all. Like, the only reason why I mention it ever is to try to bridge the gap between white and black people, so that you can understand that all black people don't think the same way that you think they might think. That we do understand that we are being played by the left. We get it. And so we're trying to bridge the gap and also demonstrate to you that there are all different kinds of black people. There are smart black people and there are dumb black people, just like there are smart white people and dumb white people. This is the only way we're going to get past race. But when I keep seeing comments like, I thought you were black, or you lied to us, you said you were black, that just hurts my heart because you still don't get it. Okay, you still don't get it. And I'm not like an anomaly. My sister is black too. She's very intelligent. She holds a job, you know. I don't know. I'm going to stop talking about it, but you'll see in the comments. It's like, come on, guys, get with it. 2021. Color doesn't matter. All right, so let's look at this now. Oh, by the way, before we move on to this, I came up with an idea. I think on what I'm going to do. So once I go out and look at that hummingbird, I'm going to put the GoPro like right up next to its nest, but I'm going to be careful not to touch the nest, because if you touch it, the mother won't come back, right? So I'm going to find a way to mount it right next to her, and then when she'll fly off while I'm mounting it, but then hopefully she'll come back and we'll get some really up close footage of this amazing creature. And maybe if my GoPro is of quality, maybe I can put some of the shots in slow motion and you guys can see her up there working on her nest. Well, that's pretty cool. So that was the pool video that we put up yesterday or last night, so check that out. I don't think YouTube sent out a notification for it, so a lot of people didn't see it. I think only 4,000 of you have seen it so far. So let's get into this next part of the story here. This is crazy. You got just various tabs pulled up, not too many, like 5 or 6 that I wanted to talk to you guys about this morning. So let's go back here. Now somebody sent me this state-by-state breakdown of federal aid per CV-19 case. Now this gives you an idea of how much money per case that each state is getting for CV-19. Now, I don't know if there's a pattern here. I mean, I'm wondering would it be possible that the states with the most money per case are the ones that are claiming more cases? I mean, if you think about it, follow the money, right? And this is why my personal belief system is that profit and money should never be attached to health, because the incentive is for people to be sick so that more money is made. There has to be a way to create a health system that is not attached to a business. And people could say, oh, well, the only way to do that case should be socialism. No, there's got to be a different way. Somehow, some way, like nonprofit, I don't know. But there's got to be a different way, because this is what happens. Look at how much money some of these states are getting per case. And thanks to the subscriber that sent this to me, this is crazy. Arizona's getting shafted. I wonder if they probably don't have many cases at all in Arizona. This is interesting. Arkansas. So they're trying to incentivize Arkansas to have more cases. Obviously, they're giving almost $300,000 per case in Arkansas federal aid per CV-19 case. California's getting shafted. Why? Because they already got their cases on the board, right? They don't need any assistance because they're all fully brainwashed. Colorado, brainwashed. Connecticut, brainwashed. Isn't that interesting? The states getting the least amount are more left-leaning states because they're already on board. Their governors are already bought and sold. And then some of these other places, it's the opposite. Look how much Hawaii, $300,000, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa. It's like the places that are right-leaning are getting the most money to try to incentivize that. Look at this, is crazy. Kentucky, Kansas, Iowa, all really right-leaning. They're getting a ton of money to try to come up with cases. Do you see what's going on here? At least that's what it looks like to me. I could be wrong. Minnesota, are they right-leaning there? Probably. They're getting a ton of money, almost $500,000 per case. Montana, very right-leaning. Same thing. Nebraska. See all the breadbasket places that would normally have the least amount of cases are the ones that are incentivized, and then the ones that are already on board, look, they don't have to give anything to Cuomo because he's already on board. $12,000 a case. I don't know. That's the pattern I'm seeing, you guys. So I'll let you guys check that. I won't beat that to death much more. On to other things. Now, I told you guys last year that copper was going to go through the roof. Did we not? When it was about March, when Mr. T, the Don, basically passed 5G whiz and beyond. Remember that? And I told you that they would need that the base stations that are needed for that infrastructure require lots of copper. We looked at some movies, decoded some films on it, and look at what we have here. This is starting in 2021, and look what copper has done. This is unprecedented. Look at the leap here. It's gone up This is probably 20% in value. Now, for a commodity like this to do this is crazy. So this is right about the time we said it was going to go up, right? Now, I don't encourage stock market betting and all that and trading. I'm not about that because I want to invest as little as possible in this beast system, but some of you are into that, right? Here, that's February. Let's go back down here. Let's go back to when we said way back in March, we did a video. Whoa, look at this. So this is about the time that we said that copper was going to go through the roof. It was $2.15. Now, I had mentioned this to one of my friends who is into the stock market. He laughed at me, right? He's probably kicking himself right now. Sorry, man. It doubled in price since then. Doubled. Now, this will continue to go up because I believe electric cars also need this as well. They need copper. So this is the rise of the copper serpent right here. What you're basically looking at is the blue blood serpent rising up, the beast coming up out of the sea right here. Copper, we're in the copper age, which is kind of like gold in terms of how it kind of looks, but it's different, right? That's crazy. Doubled in price since we said it would. So don't go out and buy a bunch of copper stock. Not a good idea. Okay, so here's something else. Look, I'm all over the place today, but I just had a bunch of tabs I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Let's check in with you, make sure you guys are okay. We'll keep going with this show. All right. Now, this is cool. This is an automatic chicken door. Let's see if we can play this. Now, I don't know how we got to this, but I want to have a chicken coop one day, and I don't want to have to let in and take out my chickens, right? So this is really cool. Now, some of you, there's all these myths about chickens, right? The same friend that was laughing at me about copper, he's like, you don't want chickens because they're going to attract rats. Now, that can happen. But like, what if you have a system like this and you can just let your chickens free range and you just throw down a little tiny bit of feed to get them started? Chickens are chickens. They're going to find their food. And maybe you're not going to get rats. And then you're going to get eggs, right? Now, let me show you this little thing. This is cool. I don't know if they're going to... Look at the chicken comes out of the little door here. I just thought this was a cool video I wanted to share with you guys. And it's light sensitive. You could set this thing to open when the sun comes out. It's called an I think it's called an omelet, which is kind of funny because chickens make omelets, right? So I'm sure this thing is probably super expensive, but I mean, you could even make something like this, like a little motor, on here. You can make your own. You don't have to buy theirs. But here's the concept: an automatic door. So that you could actually leave your chickens for a while, right? And then if they get stuck, it won't hurt them because they put a balloon in there and, they're not going to get stuck in their little coop. So I thought that was kind of cool and interesting. Now, here's what I'm going to do one day when I get settled on my property. I'm going to get one of these coops that have wheels on them and you can move them around. I think they're called tractor coops. Some of you might have some of these. If you do, chime in the chat because we'd love to hear about it. But basically, they got wheels on them. And you could attach wheels to your own coop. You don't have to buy one of these. Make your own coop and attach wheels to it. But what that allows you to do is move the coop around so that the ground doesn't get too so you don't ruin your grass. You could also use this as like a fertilizer. As they poop into the ground, it's fertilizing the ground. And you could move this thing around almost like a lawnmower, So I thought that was kind of neat. They're called tractor coops. So I wanted to share that with you guys today. What do we got here? Someone sent me this. On to other things. We've been talking a lot about the World's Fair at Flushing Meadows. And that word... And then we talked about how this seemed like a precursor to CV-19. because the president under which this happened is from this area. It's where he grew up. And look at this. There's an underground home that is still beneath Flushing Meadows. Did you guys know about this? This is dated 2012, October 18th. Underground World Home Corporation. And apparently this was some project, because remember, the theme of this World's Fair was all about the world of tomorrow. And we saw this in Back to the Future, which looked like the world of tomorrow, the World's Fair. There's something going on here at this location as it relates to time travel, as it relates to alien or demonic visitation. There were zoo mutilations and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. But this is basically an underground home. Let's read a little bit about this. Well, it's well known that there are many time capsules still buried below Flushing Meadows Corona Park. Did you know that there may be a much larger relic down there? The 64-65 World's Fair had an exhibit called Underground World Home, which some people believe never got taken out of the ground, including someone behind CSI who included it in an episode. Ooh, we're going to have to check that out. A new article written by Nicholas Hirschen documents efforts to unearth the subterranean dwelling, which was designed in the aftermath of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Turns out a few people, namely Dr. Lori Walters, have been lobbying to dig and see if it's still there. Walters, a history professor, plans to rely again on her university. She hopes her archaeologist colleagues will guide the search, perhaps with financial backing from the university, grants, and private foundations. Currently, she's preparing an excavation proposal for the Parks Department. Now, I'm starting to wonder if there were like tunnels underneath the World's Fair. When you couple that theory with, what they have been depicting in films in terms of alien visitation and animal mutilation, now the plot thickens. Are there a bunch of tunnels running underneath Flushing Meadows, connecting subterranean places of sacrifice? These are the questions that I have. Hirschen details the suburban home's beginnings in Queens, where a plot, Block 50, Lot 5, was scored on the fairgrounds between the Hall of Science and the Port Authority heliport. And they began to dig 15 feet into the Flushing Meadows marsh. Within a few months, they had created a concrete shell of about 12,000 square feet and installed the home's gypsum board ceilings. Candelabras sat on the Steinway & Sons piano in the living room. A simulated garden featured a bed of plastic flowers, artificial wisteria, and an organ. Here's a PDF of the pamphlet of the exhibit and a sample underground home from that time, which included views that span a continent, with San Francisco Golden Gate to the west and New York skyline to the east. So here's what the inside of the home looked like. And they had these artificial views posted on the walls from east to west. Wow, that is crazy. And look at where we are today, the two great cities of America. And when I say great, I'm not saying that in a positive form. San Francisco and New York. And look at that. Creepy. Well, the furnishings were taken out of the fair's end. Some believe that taken out at the fair's end, sorry. Some believe that the home's designer, Jay Swayze, wanted to avoid demo costs and abandon the home, leaving it underground. Years ago, a World's Fair community member claimed there were documents at the New York Public Library that would debunk the myth the home is still preserved underground. We've contacted NIPL to see if they could get a hold of some evidence. We'll update you with any new information. So this we'll be digging into more. If you guys have any information on this underground home from the World's Fair from 1964, go ahead and just send it over. CaseyBrown1973@gmail.com. Be interested to see what that's about. And I wanted to give you that update. What else do we have here? So, somebody sent me this too. Biden's order could let China control the U.S. grid. Now, this is a loaded uh, I guess you call it title here to this. This is dated January 27th, 2021. Basically, what happened is under the T-Man administration, he basically blocked uh, Chinese solar panels from coming in the country. You couldn't buy Chinese solar panels. Well, what did that do? Well, the cost of solar panels went through the roof. Now, they claimed that they had found some Chinese solar panels that had some kind of technology in them that the Chinese people could shut down remotely. And I don't know if I buy that. I just think that so many people were going solar and off grid, they had to do something. So what better way to do it is to follow the money, right? Let's force Americans to buy American solar panels that are 3 times the cost. We'll make a bunch of money and we'll just plant some fake Chinese solar panels that are, that were implanted with some technology, or we'll say it was implanted with some technology, and that will stop people from going off grid. You guys, I looked at a solar system. It's the single most expensive improvement that you can make to your property. Okay, it's almost cost prohibitive because for a basic system, it's about 10 grand. That's a lot of money, and most people can't afford that. And all that's going to give you is basic solar power, basic battery capabilities to maybe store power for maybe 1 to 2 days, which we just saw an ice storm that went on for a week. 1 to 2 days would have done you no good. So the cost of solar needs to come down. Why is it that we keep allowing all the other Chinese products to come in the country, but just so happen to isolate Chinese solar panels? And what do they care if the solar panels can be shut off remotely? Even if that was true, what would that matter if you were off the grid? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you can't just block people that are off the grid from getting less expensive products. That's hurting them. In fact, it hurts them the most because people that are on the grid can get subsidies and rebates when they put their solar panels in, because you're required to be on the grid. If you're in the grid, you have to link your solar panels into the grid. It's basically a ripoff. And then the solar companies put you on these 20-year leases, and you got to pay until you die, basically. And if you sell your house, they have to keep paying. Somebody's got to pay for these panels, and they're $20,000, $30,000 systems linked into the grid. And now they're saying, or under the T administration, you can't buy them from China. Basically block them from buying it. Do you see how the rhetoric, you got to really dig deep in between the lines and see how these things affect you directly. You should have the right to buy a Chinese product if you want to. You're already doing it when you go to Walmart. Why aren't they blocking all those products coming in? See the problem here? Okay, let me give you an example. Why don't they block Chinese TVs, for instance? Or all the other Chinese things that you get that are electronic that could have listening devices in them, for instance, if we go with their logic, right? Oh, there's a listening device in there. Or, oh, it's a radio receiver. That could have something that's spying on our local governments, and what if a local governor bought a Chinese stereo? I don't even know if they make stereos anymore. What if our, local governor bought a Chinese smart TV, and then the smart TV from China is listening in on them? That could be a national security. See, if you go along with their logic doesn't make sense. So they're going to cut off your ability to have an off-grid, affordable solar system. See the problem here? We are always the ones to suffer here at the bottom. They don't care how much their solar system costs because all these people are millionaires. They can have the biggest, baddest solar systems that they want. Not us. We got to struggle and scrape. And when we try to be independent, which, look, they're all about the environment, right? Wouldn't they say, hey, look, we need to get as many people off the grid as possible. Wouldn't getting people off the grid be their incentive to help preserve our environment? It seems like it, but for some reason, they don't like that, which is why they force you onto the grid if you live in the grid. What do you mean, Casey? Well, there's this thing called the grid, obviously, and if you're in a town, it's the system that's set up, the infrastructure, okay? So if you live in a city, you'll probably have like natural gas lines that run within the city limits. You'll have electricity. You'll have sewage. You're tied into the sewage grid. And if you're living within those boundaries of that grid, it is the consensus that they force you, if you decide you want solar panels, your panels have to be tied into that grid. It's like the law. There's no way out of it. You can't just live outside the grid with your solar panels and just go, you know what? That's okay. I just want to have my panels and for my own personal energy. They basically force you to share your panels. And you're plugged in so that your panels share with everyone. Now, they tell you all these things about how great that is. They say, oh, look, when your panels aren't producing and other people's are, you still get power. But at the end of the day, they got you stuck in a 20-year, $200 a month commitment, regardless of what the panels are doing, okay? So that's the bottom line. And do you want that? No, the whole point of it is to get outside of their system. And you should have the ability to invest in your own panels and not plug them into their grid, even if you are living in a city. So there's something afoot here. They're disincentivizing people to be off the grid by making it unfeasible for them to afford a solar system. Now, I could be wrong on this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. So that's what's going on with this. Now, the B-man, Mr. Biden himself, has reversed this, but I don't even trust him with all this, okay? He's doing this for political reasons. He's reversed this and now allowed these Chinese solar panels to come into our country, and they're trying to say, oh, he's letting China control the grid. Well, there's no proof of that at all. Maybe they're setting us up for an EMP. Maybe after Biden lets this happen, they're going to say, see? And then when the lights go out, they'll blame it on this. So none of these people have our best interests at heart. We're just pawns in their game. That's what we are. Let's go back in the chat. And I got one more thing I want to talk to you about today, which is really important. This is probably the most important part of the show. And then I'll be in the chat. Now, this is called the Mechanical Bible. I'm going to be very clear. This is the Mechanical Bible. It's the Bible. It's just got all these little links and footnotes that show you the different ways that each of these words has been translated. And, okay, the way that the Bible's interpreted and translated today is full of inconsistencies. There's a reason for that, because it was mistranslated, misinterpreted. The original word, as you see it is here, is preserved, but the way that the words are translated in what instances is not. This is where you have to rely on the Holy Spirit to guide you into all truth. Would God really make all evil? Would he really create evil? No, he would not. So we got to dig and go, okay, what does this really mean? This is the word create. I'm going to zoom in on this because I saw a couple channels use this to discredit God in the Bible. And I'm going to link you to this site so you can look for yourself. Anytime you have a question, something does not make sense to you about what the Most High would do, just go in here and put your cursor right over here. This word create evil, is not create. It can mean cut down. Wouldn't it make more sense that this would read and cut down evil? I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and cut down evil, not create evil. And this isn't me reinterpreting the Bible. This is what their This is what the word actually means in other verses. They just chose this meaning for this verse when they translated this. This is why you have to look at concordances and cross-references stuff. Don't take the word of the translators, because they've put this in there on purpose to discredit God, to secretly undermine him. So, he didn't create darkness, he cut it down. He didn't create evil, he cut it down. Now let's look at some of the other meanings of this. You can click on this here. I'm just tired of people trying to discredit God and the Bible without digging and looking. Here's the word, it's bara. Now, you're asking, Casey, who decides when the word means this and when it means something else? It's the Holy Spirit. He dispatches evil. This is the same word. Cuts down. Okay? Dispatches. Okay? Wouldn't that word make a lot more sense? Why did the translators translate it the other way? It's the devil trying to confuse you. It's the jots and tittles of the Pharisees and the scribes, which Jesus warned about, that they're changing the word a jot and a tittle. This is where you got to be careful. And it's all about your heart. Do you want to believe in God or do you not? If you do not, then you'll read this version and you'll let people who bring this verse up go, oh, see, oh, now I can do what I want because it's all a lie. See? But if your heart is believing in God, then you will go, that doesn't make sense. I'm going to dig into this. Now here's another popular verse that is mistranslated. We showed this in a previous show, but we need to look into this deeper. Genesis 4:1. Now every other verse in the Bible shows and suggests that there are two seed lines. The very first prophecy in the Bible talks about the enmity between two seeds, the serpent and the woman. It tells you right there in Genesis. And then Jesus said to the scribes and Pharisees, you are of your father the devil and the first murderer. He told us who their bloodline was. And the entire Bible is full of things that suggest that. Well, here's the one verse that the people who don't believe in the serpent seed will try to pull up and say, see, this is it right here. All the other verses go against this verse. God does not make mistakes. God does not contradict himself. So you got to look at the evidence. Are you going to believe this one verse, or are you going to believe the 5 or 6 other verses that suggest that there are two seed lines? Are you going to believe this one verse, or are you going to look at the Bible and go, wow, the Israelites fought against giants. They were different. Their blood was different. What does that mean? Here's the scripture, Genesis 4:1. And she conceived, this is Eve, and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from Yahweh. So people are like, see? Cain was from Yahweh. He was from the Lord. How could he be from the devil? Wrong. Here's the word from. Again, use your critical thinking. Click on the thing here. What does the word from mean? It can also mean against. She got a man against the Lord. And it's used that way in 1 Kings. The same word, it says against. So, against the Lord. Now, the Bible translators should have known this. They should have gone, wow, all the other verses in the Bible meaning that this one doesn't make sense. So this must mean against. That's what they should have done, but they didn't. Because this is the jot and the tittle of the Pharisees, weaving their way in. Now, this in no way discredits the Bible. The Bible is the Bible. The original words are there. It's how they've been interpreted and translated that's been changed. And you personally can go in and do your own biblical research and get down to the bottom of things instead of playing gotcha with God. That's going to get you nowhere. And those of you that rest your laurels on the typical passages that seem to discredit God, I pray for you. I pray that you find the truth. I pray, because the time is close. And if you want to discredit God and the Bible, there will be consequences to that. Not from me, from the Most High. All right, let's go into the chat here. I appreciate all of you showing up this morning. Well, I know we were all over the place, but there were a lot of things that I wanted to catch up with you guys about. We have a mod in there. I can't see who the mod is. Okay, there it goes. Yes, they're all friends, you guys. Silverstein, BB, they're all friends. Okay. You see how much more truth you can get by standing outside of the right-left paradigm? By not believing one side or the other? Then the truth emerges. But when you're stuck in the right-left paradigm, you're in like tunnel vision. You don't see things for what they are. Okay? The King James Bible, yes, that is the closest thing, but even that has mistakes, as I just showed you. That was the King James Version, and they mistranslated those verses. They had to have been. They had to have been. So this is why you got to go into mechanical Bibles. And all the mechanical Bible allows you to do is see the concordance real time, instead of having to flip through pages to see the concordance. Okay, that's all that a mechanical Bible does. It's not some weird Bible that you have to be afraid of. It just shows you the original Hebrew or Greek, and then allows you to see the concordance real time, so you can, with the Holy Spirit, understand the true passage of the Bible. All right? All right. So that's where everything sits with that. I'm glad you guys were able to make it to the show this morning. No, I'm not in France anymore, Tom. That was about 4 years ago. Been in a couple other places since. I'm actually in California right now. You can see my mom's backyard on last night's video in California. So, all right. Let's keep reading here. Blue Letter Bible is useful too. Yes, it is. But this one, this Q Bible is cool because it allows you to hover over and find things very quickly without having to search through. But I use the Blue Letter Bible as well. The Blue Letter Bible is going to tell you the exact same thing that this one's telling you. It's just this one's easier to navigate. So, okay. Here's the last thing. If this video and any other video that you watch of mine has some kind of banner under it about a certain group of people that they're trying to demonize in the news, you can click next to that banner. There are 3 dots, and you can protest that. You can say, look, this video has nothing to do with what you're saying. Please remove this banner immediately because you are slandering this channel with fake news. So please do that. Anytime you see that banner underneath the video, just click on the dots and let YouTube know that this is a mistake. Okay? I really would appreciate if you guys do that. And if you can, thumbs up all these videos, because that helps share the video, and it does something to the algorithms where they will make the video show up in recommended videos. But if you guys don't thumbs up the videos, then it's going to cause problems. Now, you don't have to ever be afraid to thumbs up videos on this channel. As you guys know, we have a very practical outlook on the way that the world is going. We don't ever promote violence. We didn't tell people to go to the Crapitol, okay? Because we knew it was a honey trap. So you're not going to be attached to anything. People are afraid. They're like, I don't want to thumbs up a video because of my own privacy, and I don't want, no. Who you should be afraid of thumbsing up videos would be like the channels that did tell you to do certain things, okay? Those are the ones, and we're not going to name those channels, but you guys know who they are. The ones that were, saying, we got to do something right now, those are the ones. So don't ever be afraid to thumbs up videos on this channel. I hope that people aren't afraid to do that, because we have a lot of people that watch the channel that don't thumbs up the videos. They won't thumbs them down, but they won't thumbs them up either. The banner I'm talking about is KEW, the letter of the alphabet. They've been putting them on all of our videos on different channels too. Other channels are getting the same problem. So the way we combat that is you go underneath the video, and you, to the right of the banner, to the note. There's a notification under it correcting your thought. It's like thought correction, right? Just click on there and give your feedback, and that will help combat it. And if like 1,000 of you do that, YouTube will have to remove the banner, because if they review the video, they'll see that there's nothing in there about what they're talking about. But we're not going to let them slander us and put those labels under our videos for no reason, because I think it's a setup. I think they're going to get as many of our videos as they can with these fake banners, and then when your channel's gone, your channel's gone. So someone asked about the Bible app. It's KEW. Well, I'm just going to show it to you, because if you see even say that letter these days, you get labeled. Let's do this. All right. Control C. Hold on, you guys. Sorry about that. My sister's off to work, and I've got to close the garage door for her. So let me, let's post this in here, and then I'm going to pop off here, you guys. There's the link to it, and I'll put this link in the pinned comment. Okay? I'll put this in the pinned comment for you guys. I love each and every one of you. Have a great day. Be saved if you haven't already. Don't give in to the lies of the enemy. Much love.